Hey, welcome to the second course video for the song Wish You Wouldn't from NF and his album Therapy Session. I'm Musically Malnourished, and you're on my journey to go deep and wide in discovering new music and artists. In these videos, we do a deep dive into the lyrics and meaning behind the music. So let's get in, see what this song's all about. All right. We got to talk about things. We got to do something different because this isn't working. I don't know if I can do this. Riding around the city, I know you wish you could change me. Why you mad? Why you angry? Back and forth, you love, you hate me. Arguing about the same things. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know anymore. I wish you didn't say things that you don't mean. Yeah, and we talked about that for a brief moment in the React. Generally, I think if somebody says something that they don't mean, something that's cutting and hurtful, there's probably a bit of truth in it. But I think that we have to be careful, especially in confrontations or in difficult circumstances, that you can be honest. Because if there is a truth in there, like, you're never around, that may not necessarily be true. Like, you're never around. I generally try to stay away from absolutes when it comes to confrontation because they're generally not true. You may feel you're never around, but that may not be the actual truth. And so as difficult as that can be, I think a mark of maturity is in those high tension moments to try to make sure that if it's something you need to address, like you're never around, probably the best way to say it is not you're never around. It could be, listen, I feel like you're busy most of the time. I feel like you're not here for dinner, or the reality being, hey, 5 nights this week, you've come home after the kids have gone to bed. You haven't seen any of us. Like, those are all very true statements, and they still communicate what it is that you're thinking. And I think on the other hand, there's really not any truth to it. Like, I hate you, or things like that, that is just like, man, that's just like setting a bomb in the middle of a conversation, and kind of leans toward there's no fruit coming from that. And I think that we have to be very careful not to let things like that come out in the midst of confrontation. As hard as it can be, the point of confrontation, healthy confrontation, is not just to make a point. If you're just there to vent all your stuff and make the other person feel bad, like, there's nothing good coming of that. Hopefully the point, if it's someone you care about, the confrontation is meant to be fruitful. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it may not get a little bit heated, but you want to work toward a resolution together, not just say things that are going to blow up any chance of fruitful conversation. She wants somebody that's working a 9 to 5. I apologize, but those ain't my hours. You never been with a man who's working this kind of job, who works this kind of drive. I wouldn't be with me either. Hold up. Yeah, I think that's work on the other line. I gotta go. We can argue some other time. Hang up the phone. I regret it after. Here, we'll continue on. This is the chance that I just couldn't pass up. See, I signed a deal. You said I should have asked you, or I guess I was scared to see how you reacted, or maybe I knew I'd be selfish. These are the things I'm not proud of. Yeah, and those are all things that are very telling, you know? And you got to figure out your family dynamics. I don't think it's wrong if there's a woman who wants to build a family and desires something of a more normal work schedule. Now, I think, my wife and I, we've been in so many different seasons that have required more, seasons that has required less, but we work as a team together, And so I even try to communicate if I have things coming up that I know are going to take a lot of my time. I try to communicate that ahead of time. And then I try to look for the opportunities to engage with my family outside of that, if it's going to take a lot from me, that means that just as much as you're giving more toward work, guess what? You're going to have to give more toward your family. You're going to have to find the space to bend and, still fulfill your obligations as a husband or as a father, a wife, as a mother. And ultimately, though, if you're not married yet, you just have to find, like, are our plans, our dreams, our desires compatible? And a lot of times I think if the relationship is strong enough, if you love each other enough, as long as you're not being crazy and totally unreasonable, because people get into a relationship. Why? For the relationship, for the love, for the friendship, to build something together. And that looks different for a lot of different people. If you're a firefighter, I have many friends who are firefighters, and they'll say it's not just them making the sacrifice, it's their family too. Usually they're gone for 24 hours and then home for 48 hours. But even with that, it might be like a weird schedule. So the first day on or the first day off, they might be tired or whatever. And so there is a sacrifice from the family for things like that. And there are so many other people that work night shifts, and then sleep when they get home and have a pretty short window with family before having to go back again. And so, yeah, it is just figuring it out. I think the danger would be in saying, and kind of like he said here, is like, maybe I'm just knew I'd be selfish. That's the danger. Selfishness will kill a relationship from both ends. And there are times that both parties have to be willing to sacrifice, to be selfless. But if you get stuck on this, like, well, that's just what I'm going to do. And it's like, well, then you pretty much signed a death warrant for your relationship. And that only increases as you have children and your responsibilities go up in that area. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things there. And don't sign a deal without talking to, that's a big life move. It's one that should be in conversation. But he says, these are things I'm not proud of. Is always the type to get jealous. There's always two sides of the story, and you're not the one that I blame when I tell it. And I think that's important too, right? Not that she probably doesn't have some part in it, but he's clearly saying, like, he's a big issue in here as well. I love this line. I should have manned up, and that's hard to say as a man. It's such a cool play on words. Should have manned up. I should have stepped up my responsibilities. I should have had the conversations. I should have whatever. But that could be hard to say as a man. The older I get, the more I understand a relationship's more than just holding her hand. Yeah, way more. Gosh, sorry you can blame me. Yeah, and it's more than just sex. It's a very boyish, childish attitude to have about relationships. Sex is meant to be as a reward, not like a reward, like a treat. It is two souls loving and serving one another in life, building something together, and then there's a part of yourself in intimacy that you only share with that person. And so, yes, sure, holding a hand, but even, to the other extreme, the physical intimacy is secondary to the relational intimacy, to trusting a person with all that you are, because that person has earned that trust. I just want to feel something. There's too many things I'm trying to deal with. And I understand you don't feel this. I said there's too many things I'm trying to deal with. And I understand I'm hurting your feelings. I know you don't feel this. I'm just expressing the way that I'm feeling. Things I'm trying to deal with, I guess I've been trying to hold it all inside. But it's obvious that that ain't working. It's obvious that's not working. The only thing we got in common is that we got nothing in common. Yeah, and I mean, I said a little bit about that in the second course is there are some things you have to have in common. I think you have to be on the same page about what you're trying to achieve, and how you're going about it. I think you have to be on the same page about a lot of those things within life, trying to think, you think differently, but even in that, like you're kind of thinking in the same direction together. And I think when you have a lot of those things in common, that's the like foundation for a relationship. I was mentioning it's like I might want to go climbing. My wife has no interest in climbing. I might want to snowboard. My wife doesn't have an interest in snowboarding. Video games or whatever, you can name it. And she has her own interests too. And so, what we have in common, number one, obviously, is our love for one another. We love being around each other. We love talking and laughing together. And we love building life together because we can trust one another and we think differently, but in the same unified direction. And because we share so many of those things in common, it's fine. It's like, yeah, you can go off and do that, have fun. And I'm like, yeah, you can go off and do that, go have fun. And so I think, though, that a lot of times, especially younger people, they think like, I'm a gym bro, so I need a gym girl. And that might be it. You may really have that in common. It may be a lot of fun together, and that's fine. But don't think that you can't build a life with somebody that shares a different interest than you do. Because if you have a lot of those central ideas in common, that's what you're really building a life on. And then you can enjoy the things you like doing separately at times and sometimes together. But I kind of want to push back against, because I think a lot of people are just like, I can't find anybody that likes the things I like. And it's like, well, listen, that's kind of what you got some friends for, or if it's something you just enjoy doing on your own. You can find people that enjoy doing some of the things that you do, but that doesn't have to happen to have a strong, lasting, wonderful relationship with somebody. Well, let me know your thoughts in the comments. A lot of interesting things here. Thanks for being with me for this one. I hope to see you in the next one for Eating Good.